Hello, guys. Today's podcast is going to be about an interview that we had with Marcos Lara. He's a former entrepreneur from Silicon Valley, California, and he's an expert in big data, Internet of Things, and machine learning. We talked to him about the Internet of Things and what it means, about smart homes, and he told us a few of his experiences and interesting stories. So I hope you enjoy this and maybe learn something out of it. So here we go. Cool. Just if you can tell us about yourself for those who don't know you.
Sure.
Yeah.
My name is Marcos Lara. I live in Silicon Valley, Menlo Park, and I'm a former entrepreneur. I've been working in the Valley for about 5 years, but I've been doing technology for probably, ever since the day I came out of college. Started in computer security, and then I went to internet startups in New York City. And then the internet startup scene in New York City is pretty good, but not that great. I wanted to be closer to the beast, so to speak. And so when I did my startup, I raised my money and moved out to Silicon Valley. And that's where I live and work now.
I mean, this is obviously there's a huge experience that you have, and I think this next question is going to be difficult. But from all of this, can you pick a lesson, one lesson or an experience, breakthrough in your life, career-wise?
And that's not an easy question. I mean, because the truth is it's a series of breakthroughs, right? Because each time you push yourself, you fail. Well, that's it. Failure is not your enemy. Failure is your step ladder, is your ladder. Each one of those rungs on your ladder to success is going to be a failure. And I feel a lot of Asian cultures, cultures outside of Silicon Valley, let's put it that way, even inside the United States, don't take well to failure. When failure, though, is absolutely the lesson that a lot of people need. Because it's only through practice and failure do you learn what does and does not work. If you don't accept failure in your culture, your family doesn't accept failure, or if the culture around you doesn't accept failure, it will allow you to take the risk. So like if you come, I heard in where was it? Was it in Thailand? There's some investor, is whatever. The guy was telling me he raised some money from the investor, $100,000, not that much. Company fell apart. They wouldn't give him any more money. And I was just like, that's strange. Why wouldn't give you any more money? And it was just like, well, because it was a failure. No, but failure is part of getting to. If you don't break your face on the ground, you don't learn how to walk. You know what I mean? If you fall down enough times, you stop falling because it hurts. You don't want to fall down anymore. I think the next lesson is, and this is something that if anyone who thinks they want to do a startup really should take carefully. The single largest factor in success that I've seen completely revolves around access to capital. And by that I mean friends and family. No VC is going to give you money if you haven't talked your parents or your uncles into giving you some money already. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. In the United States, maybe $50,000 is all you need to get from your friends and family. Which you'd be surprised. There's money in. Some people got money in their back pockets. But here's the thing: if you don't have money to go to prove that you're worthy, the people that you know and love you trust you enough to give you something. Like my mom, she's not a wealthy person. She gave me $5,000. But you know what? That $5,000 could have been $100,000 by somebody else because that's all she had to give. You know what I mean? And that was a lot of money. So for her, that was big. My mom invested. Like that's the story. And the guy smiles and he shakes his head and he goes, "That's what it's. That's good." When the mom is in it, I like it when the mom gets involved. Awesome. I love it when the uncle, when the brother, or the cousin. So access to capital, and the reason you need access to capital is because you're not going to. The chances of you making it on your first time are very poor, which is what comes back to failure, and that you need to be able to do it again and again and again. And if you can get what we call runway, which is enough space to fail a little bit, pick yourself up, dust off, go back, get a little bit more money, go a little bit farther, your chances of success are going to be so much better. If you only have one shot at success, I'm not saying don't take it, I'm saying it's going to be harder. So don't give up, try and try again, and try and make sure that you build a network that's going to support you even after you have a failure.
Can we move to the topics that you discussed today in your presentation? We'd like to talk about IoT.
Sure.
Now, The Internet of Things is a term that many people are not familiar with.
It's a very broad
especially-
subject.
It's
Yeah.
a broad subject, right? So that's the question. Can you basically define it to an average individual?
The IoT, I mean, in the world that we're going to live in, and there's a great line that says the future's already here, it's just not evenly distributed, right?
Okay.
So if you come to my town, your head will spin for the first couple months because you just won't believe the wealth and the nerdiness and how much technology is just taken for granted. And you can walk down the street and find an iPhone on the ground. Is this somebody's iPhone? And it's an iPhone, man. And people would kill for an iPhone, right? And it fell out of someone's pocket and no one picked it up. It's like, what is? I mean, it's incredible. It's like you're calling the cops and you're like, someone lose an iPhone? You don't even keep it. You actually turn it in because you have two. You don't need a third. You know what I mean? It's silly. So what I was getting at was the future's already here. It's not evenly distributed. In some places in this world, things are instrumented. And by instrumentation, I mean the door has a sensor on it. The light switch has a timer on it. The television knows how long it's been on, and the refrigerator is tracking its temperature and can tell somebody if they were to ask it, oh, I use more power during the morning than I do in the evening. And the Internet of Things, simply put, is sensors on everything so that they can be tracked, they can be measured, and then in the future, or in some places right now, optimized. Why would you want on the optimized? Well, if I can save a penny of electricity on every refrigerator in the world, I just saved a lot of money and a lot of electricity. And so it's about scale. It's not just one thing that you're measuring. It's about the little drops of grain that add up to a big bucket, right? And so Internet of Things puts a digital tracker or a digital fingerprint on all the little things in our lives, and then we can follow those things. So let me give you an example. Milk. Everyone drinks milk, I think, right? Well, Internet of Things in milk, if I were to ask probably the average internet guy, he would say, it will tell you how much milk is left in the bottle, because the bottle could be digital, right? Yeah, that could be one thing that it could be, but it's so much more. Because that bottle was put on a truck, and that truck was taken to a store, that store put it on a shelf, and from there it went to a bottling plant, and from going back in time, it even the cow, and then how much feed the cow was given, the weather in which the cow was raised, the production output of the cow, and then all the location, the temperature of the milk during its transportation, the time from the time it was milked to the time it got to the store, that time right there. Then it gets to my house and I open it and my refrigerator knows the bottle's full because the refrigerator's talking to the bottle. And then when the bottle gets to half full, it reminds me to buy more milk. Or even better yet, sends it to the local store and the store delivers a bottle of milk. But hang on, let's get even better. What if I drink milk slowly and you drink milk fast? Well, if you drink milk fast, when the bottle's half, it'll order for you because by the time the bottle gets here, it'll be empty. But for me, I don't drink that much milk at all, but I do like milk. So it waits until it's only an eighth, or only a tiny little bit left in the bottle. So you could tailor the amount of milk that would be delivered to you and the frequency of that milk based on the rate of your consumption of that milk, given over time. So it would know you. And that's the Internet of Things. And then the optimization of that. Oh, wait a minute. Now it goes in the garbage. Now the garbage knows there's no garbage in the garbage can, so the truck doesn't come and pick it up. So we save fuel, we save manpower, we save all sorts of things. So the milk bottle finally goes in the garbage. Now the garbage truck gets a signal that says the garbage is full, come get the milk. Well, I'm simplifying the example here, but now it goes. So I've saved the energy and only come to get your garbage when the garbage is full. Or when maybe the temperature, maybe the weather. If it's really, really hot, we come and get the garbage more often because it smells. Right? And so all of a sudden you can optimize for all these quality of life, economy of scales, fuel efficiency, and now we've got a bottle. But wait a minute. I was gonna buy glass to make more bottles, but I know your bottle's in the garbage. I'll just wait for your bottle to come back. I don't have to go buy glass because I know there's enough bottles in the garbage. And it's just a matter of days now until I have it all back. And so now you can start to do the full life cycle, and now we go all the way back to the bottling plant, right? And maybe I don't even throw the bottle away or crush it. Sometimes I turn it back into glass, right? Yeah. Maybe I'll just clean it because I know I'll need it. So all these things, and this is just a bottle of milk. So the IoT can the world, an Internet of Things, applies to many things. This is just one example of how a little sensor in a milk bottle connected to everything else can make the world way more efficient.
Internet of Things has created or is going to create businesses that never existed before, and jobs that you've never heard of.
Well, I think it's going to go farther than that, but go ahead.
Further
Continue.
than that.
Well, I think I don't
Go
think I don't think Internet of Things by itself. So if I were to think of what is Internet of Things, you really, on its fundamental level, it's only really one thing, and that is time series data. So time series data is data over time. So let's just take the temperature of this room as an example. Temperature at night is cooler, and during the day it's hotter. And then you plot that on a graph, and then you can start to see the ups and downs of the temperature in this room over time, day of week, so hour of day, day of week, week of month, month of year, then cycle years over years, decades. And you can, if you get enough data, you can start to trend and see, oh my God, the weather's getting warmer, maybe. So time series data is important. So let's give another example of time series data. Time series data. I have a Mercedes-Benz, and I'm going to ship it somewhere in the world. It's going to go in a container, it's going to go on a ship, and then it's going to spend 3 weeks on the ocean till it arrives in whatever country it has to go to. Well, that's a really expensive car. They put sensors in the container with the car, so they know the humidity, they know the velocity, they know if the car got shaken, the accelerometer on it. They have all sorts of information from the sensors that are with the car, so when the car arrives, if all the parameters look all right, then they know the car arrives safe. There's no insurance claim. Maybe that's a good vendor for shipping. But if the car got hit, maybe a container hit it on the way because the guy was operating the machinery, hit the car by accident. It's inside a container, but it still took the hit. Now they know they have to inspect the car and other things. But unless you know what the life cycle of that car was when it wasn't with a human being, that's what Internet of Things gives you, time series data. That's not where the future is. It's required for the future to have time series data. The future will be data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, applied to the time series data. The introspection, the insights that gained by looking at large amounts of data over time in patterns that humans can't recognize. So there'll be so there's really three main types of machine learning, which is this kind of assisted human insights. And there is supervised, unsupervised, and then there's a reward-based thing. But let's just talk about the supervised and the unsupervised. In the supervised model, I will have a data set, and I'll say, hey, I am looking for any time the car had a moisture above 90%. Why? I don't know. That's what I'm interested in. I tell the computer, look at these millions of points of data, or hundreds of millions or billions of points of data about all the cars that I've ever shipped, I've ever put a sensor on. Show me all the cars that have high humidity. Okay. Now map that on a map. Okay, it's all in Brazil. Makes perfect sense. That's because I assisted the computer. What's really interesting is what's called unsupervised learning, is where you don't tell the computer what to find. You give it some parameters maybe, but essentially you say, go and look in the data. And what it does is it recursively looks over the data and searches and searches and searches and searches until it finds a pattern or a cluster, what they call a cluster, and it reveals the cluster and it says, hey, I found 52 clusters of unusual data. I don't know why, but they're together. No human would have known to look. And all of a sudden, you open it up and you say, oh, that's garbage. That means nothing. That means nothing. Oh my God, this third one though, I didn't realize when you have a strong shock plus humidity plus some other variable, bingo. We found out that's why the car's rusting. You would have never, but no human could have identified all those variables together. But a machine with infinite computing power, I want to say infinite, meaning put it in the cloud and let it run. They can reveal those types of things. And that's where computer intelligence or machine learning, and then the extension of that, which is artificial intelligence, where now the computer starts to give you predictions. It's one thing for it to find a pattern, which is what machine learning does, or it identifies things that it kind of knows you want to find. But artificial intelligence then says the computer takes on almost a human quality and says, well, I think this might happen. The probability of XYZ happening is pretty high. And now the computer is starting to make recommendations for you. in a way that's kind of like, oh my God, that's really good. Thank you. So the future is not IoT. Well, of course, it is IoT, but it's not. The future is the use of IoT data in machine learning applications. And that's where you're going to get someone like Uber, who has this taxi. Well, what did they do? They just took a digital format, mobile app, and put it on an analog technology, which was driving cars by hand and radios. And now they took it online, and that was a great business. I don't know how great it is. They spend $1 billion a month. They lose $1 billion a quarter. Is it a quarter or a month or something? Anyway, they lose a lot of money because they're investing a lot of money. Oh yeah, they make a lot of money, but they invest a lot. But and most of that is in lawyers. But the point is so what did Uber do? Uber said, hey, there's this analog thing called taxis. I want to take this digital thing and make it better. Okay, that's awesome. And you could get away with that for a while because the internet was so new. No one, yeah, sure, awesome, do it. The next wave will not be just applying digital to analog equivalents. It'll be taking the Ubers, the digital equivalents, and the next round of companies will have taken that taxi business and then said, I want to put artificial intelligence on that business. And the guy who doesn't do that, who thought he was a badass because he took an analog world and he made it a digital world and thought he was king, is going to be replaced by the next guy who comes along and says, I took your digital world, which is old and busted, and I put artificial intelligence on it, and now I'm the new king. And so that is the future, where all the businesses that we think are awesome just because they're digital are going to be replaced by businesses that are going to be awesome because they're artificial intelligence. And that is where the world is going. Internet of Things, sensor and time series data is all part of that model, and that's where it's going.
We wanted to know, as I mentioned in the previous question, that there will be businesses, future businesses, there will be future jobs, opportunities that don't exist today. And maybe if you can give me a couple of examples. Well, you did. You
Sure.
gave me a couple of examples.
Data science.
Data science.
Data science is,
Okay.
I mean, really, truly, I swear to God, right now, there's such a demand for data scientists. You don't even have to be great. You just got to be decent. You got to be competent. You know what I mean? You got to know your tools, like R, Scala, Python, these types of languages. And you have to know the typical ways of solving the mathematical problems. And they're known, and they're taught in data science classes. Like, oh, if you want to do this, you need linear algebra. If you want to do that, you need X. And so there are tools and there are known ways to solve the problems. You know the basics there, you know the tool sets and how to use them. You can get a job in Silicon Valley like that. Matter of fact, they'll even give you the visa. It's true, but the hard part is you got to get on the radar, right? And so that's
Sure.
So once you're on the radar, though, it's possible. And I swear to God, even in the companies that I help now, they'd kill for a halfway decent guy. They don't even need the brilliant guy. No PhD, just a master's, good enough. Maybe even an undergrad. I'll take anyone. Does he breathe? Sold. Serious, man. It's kind of crazy right now. So data science is where I apply my trade right now.
Do you see, from a personal point of view, or even from a technical point of view, do you see any benefits from the typical smart home that we know today to the end user? Or maybe if you can imagine future technologies that will be helpful to the end user?
Well, listen, I think it is. I think it's helpful and it's powerful. It's certainly powerful to have your heat or your air conditioning turn off during the day when no one's home, and then have it turn on when it sees you're in the car on the way home, right? Or that's powerful because that saves electricity. Okay, it's a couple pennies, but multiply those pennies by millions of homes or billions of homes, and the world is the world's a healthier place because of that, right? There's less consumption. I think when you say smart home, I gotta go to battery technology, because that's the first thing that I could put a camera and have people walk in, fine. Have the thermostat, fine. Smoke detector, I get it. Those are kind of interesting, but to me, the most interesting thing about the smart home is going to be batteries in the house. So Tesla makes a battery pack that goes on the wall, sort of like that goes in the car. They have the big, enormous batteries. Mm-hmm. They just put it on the wall, not for the car, but for the house. Okay. And so what it does is it saves electricity. It fills the battery, and so at nighttime, when electricity costs are highest, you use electricity from the battery, and then during the day when electricity is cheap, it fills the battery back, and it normalizes the battery, normalizes your pricing because you're only using it. It's not because right now all power grids are on demand. They make it, and you use it. There's no storage on the grid. I don't think people realize that. It's real time. That's a really delicate model. It's really price sensitive. It's resource intensive. So if you could put storage in every home, that changes the model. And then if you live in a sunny climate like California, where I am, where it's 300 days of sunshine where I live. 300 days, that's a lot of sunshine. You don't even need to be on the grid. You probably put and if you get enough square meters on the roof, you could fill that battery pack from sunlight only, and only need to use it during extreme weather, really hot period. You have a whole family in the house and everyone uses a live phone at the same time. It kills the battery. Okay, go to the grid. But other than that, so I think smart home. I think battery pack for the house. I think solar on the roof. I don't think it's just thermostats and cameras. I think it's like a really smart home. Maybe it even goes to the point where the windows have auto tinting, right? Like they block out all light during certain hours of the day because that's when the house gets the hottest, right? And then they go clear, transparent when it's nice. So I think, so from a personal point of view, I think it's real. It's going to happen. I think it's going to be a completely revolutionized experience. Nothing that you and I can really relate to other than, hey, wouldn't it be cool if the house were smart enough to make the windows dark so the house never got hot during the day or something along these lines.
We have a saying that basically a smart home is the tool that is going to turn your home into a place that takes care of you. It's going to basically
anticipate your needs.
Yeah, it's going to turn you from being a caretaker into being
taken care of.
Do you agree with that?
Well, in order to get there, we have to go back. Well, I mean that strings together IoT, but really that you have to get to AI. You have to go back to data science. That's not going to happen if we don't have data scientists, right? Internet of Things unto itself is not there. I mean, I'm taking this and I'm slicing it thinner for you.
Perfect. Yeah,
because that's really, you can't just catch all these things. It doesn't work like that. I mean, you can, but I don't think you're accurately displaying the picture if you don't slice it, right?
Yeah.
And so to have the sensor data, to have the time series data certainly makes it easier for me to anticipate your needs because I can start to predict what will happen next or what is most likely to happen next. May not happen, but chances are 80 to 90% of the time it will. Matter of fact, it was a really interesting study. I don't know where I saw it, but it was something like 80% of humans repeat the same pattern all the time. It's like we just do the same thing over and over and over and over. It's like we like pattern. Humans are programmed for pattern. And our brains enjoy repeat doing the same thing over and over. And so that makes us really predictable from a computer's perspective. Really predictable. And that
subject, aren't we?
We're an easy. Really, actually, we are.
Closing statement. Do you have a quote, a joke, an advice?
A quote or a joke.
Want, just to put it in bold in the article.
Don't look at my handler is telling me no. Do not answer that question.
Not on jet lag.
Let me see. I can give you
anything short.
Yeah, no, I have a good one. I just have to open my brain up.
Sure.
And unpack it. You asked me to change gears too fast. I'm semi-automatic transmission. I'm still manual. Let me see here.
Probably by the
yeah, I got a good. No, I got a great one. Right? What would you do if you weren't afraid?
Perfect.
Yeah, just do it.
Thanks so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Pleasure to us. Thanks.